Welcome into the weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Tyler Boyd, KentuckySports.co, Mark Blankenbaker to my left, cardsandcats.com, the two greatest Louisville, Kentucky websites on the planet of Earth.
By far.
By far. Huge days, past couple of days in the sporting world locally, obviously. Huge week. Might be the, one of Louisville's greatest weeks ever.
Might be one of the greatest weeks ever and one of the best 48 hours ever, possibly, too.
You've been out of the town. You've been out of town, but you've been with the team, Mark. You've been Mark Blankenbaker. This man right here, if you want to see his beautiful mug, get on to Adam. What's our streaming website now? Didn't we change it? Did we change our streaming website? It's highschoolcube.com.
Highschoolcube.com.
Highschoolcube.com/KentuckySports, maybe. If not, just search KentuckySports.co.
We're throwing URLs all over the place.
Nailing them everywhere.
Just highschoolcube.com, cardsandcats.com, KentuckySports.co. What the hell is going on?
1450 to sportsbuzz.com. What else can we go?
Just keep throwing out .coms.
.coms. But really, Mark was with the team as he's been with every game this season. I think you missed one game.
I've been to 11 out of 12, but so CL Brown.
Which game did you miss?
I missed the Syracuse game.
And they lost. So basically, we can kind of blame the reason you all had to lose.
We had a little losing streak because they lost. They missed me. And they were still depressed about me not being at the Syracuse game that they decided to lose.
Now, you were with the team. Was there any Call of Duty? My first question. No Call of Duty.
Well, I didn't exactly go into the hotel rooms of the players, but no, I do know that they have been playing Call of Duty.
Let's just start with that. Let's just start right there. Louisville, obviously you beat Rutgers. We know that Thursday night game, huge game. How was the environment? Obviously, it was you were there. Let's just hear your input.
Well, the environment at Rutgers, it honestly, I didn't know what to expect because you don't really know a lot about Rutgers. They've never won a Big East championship. They've only won 5 titles in sports in Big East history. Since 1992, Louisville just won 10 in 1 year. Rutgers has 5 in their whole history. So I don't really know what to expect about their campus. But then you get there, and it's actually really nice. Their fans are super passionate. It was sold out. We arrived at 4:45 for a 7:30 game, and you couldn't move in traffic. Traffic was jammed. People were tailgating. It's a very nice scene along the river there.
I hear the campus is nice. I saw a lot of tweets about the campus.
The campus is beautiful, and it's right next. There's a river that runs through the campus, so the football stadium is on the other side of the main campus, basically, and there's just really nice. Anyway, packed, loud. They have a DJ pumping up the crowd. Very Jersey Shore-esque of them.
Just perfect.
And very passionate. And the game itself, you got to look at, Teddy Bridgewater. I'm sitting there in the press box, and, the quarterbacks and the receivers are out there, and he's not out there. And I'm like, is Teddy going to play?
Yeah, when did you know he wasn't starting?
I knew he wasn't starting when I got to the press box, got my food, and Rocco was like, yeah, he's not going to start. We'll see if he'll play.
Okay.
Because they didn't know at that point if he would even play.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I'm texting the trainers, and they're like, no, we practiced yesterday. I don't know why he wouldn't play. And then, he walks in with a boot.
Oh,
he walks in off
from that ankle.
Yeah, from the ankle. So really then at that point I knew it was an ankle issue more than his wrist. The wrist wasn't going to stop him from playing, but the ankle might. And then he's out there and he's not warming up.
So you're freaking out.
So I'm freaking out because I'm like, I just
Big
came.
Willie style, Will Stein.
I'm like, are we going to beat Rutgers with Will Stein? And then, and then he comes out, and it was almost, dramatic, his entrance, because it fired up the whole team when he came out there in pads.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, he wasn't really, warming up.
It fired me up as a Kentucky fan when I saw his poofy undershirt again. when he goes poofy undershirt, I'm a Teddy fan. I really am.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was cold.
Was it?
Kickoff was 32, and there were no clouds.
32.
And it just went down. And so, he did play. He didn't play the first quarter. Will Stein actually played okay. But, those 2 missed tackles really put Louisville on.
How was the Louisville fan base? Was it a good little traveling fans, or
It was, but what Rutgers does is they have this cannon that they fire off whenever they score or win, and
kind of like Louisville and their train horn.
Well, they actually have a train horn as well, and Louisville used to have a cannon until it misfired during the Navy game back in '96, or 97, and then it actually shot the projectile thing like over the Louisville bench, and they've never fired it since.
That's safe.
But anyway, they put this cannon right in front of the visiting fans, and in the victory celebration, the whole team wanted to go over that area, but you can't walk over there. So it was kind of like terrible, because the whole team was like going over to see like these 3 sections of Louisville fans that were there, and they wouldn't allow them to do it because they're trying to fire off this cannon. But anyway, it was an incredible environment. I wish everybody could have been there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure most of the market around here was watching that. I know once the UK game was over, I flipped over and I watched it. It was a good ending, except for the worst play in maybe the history of football, the last interception, the miscommunication between who knows who.
That was the weirdest play ever.
Way to make it interesting, Rutgers, really. But no, my 2 main questions though for you, Mark, are how was the hotel and how was the Rutgers food? What was the media food at Rutgers like? Because I know here at Louisville, it's fantastic.
Okay, let me just tell you. I was talking to a guy, and we're sitting there before the game, and he's like, it was chicken tenders for Kent State, but this was the first game since Rutgers was in the Big Ten, since they got accepted to join in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
And they served prime rib.
Perfect.
Unbelievable.
Perfect.
I mean, you don't even understand how good it was. And so the place I stayed, when I got back, I got this incredible video of Sean Watson and Teddy Bridgewater hugging it out. It's very emotional. It's gotten, tons of hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I get back to the team hotel, or not the team hotel, my hotel, and I'm trying to upload it. Can't do it. And so I break out my Verizon hotspot, this Intuition thing.
It works great.
And unbelievable speed. I was like, this is incredible. Well, then I had a bunch of other videos that I needed to upload because it wouldn't work in the hotel overnight. Mm-hmm. And I was expecting to wake up to all these things being done from the hotel Wi-Fi. Well, anyway, I get in onto the New Jersey and Pennsylvania turnpikes where there's 5 tunnels, 6 tunnels, and I upload this thing in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, with a Verizon hotspot.
Just nailing it.
It's unbelievable. And how is it better than a hotel Wi-Fi? Through tunnels.
When I was at Big Blue Madness, Rupp Arena, internet was awful. It was telling me to upload a 1:15 video. It was going to take me 5 hours.
No.
5 hours.
I mean, let's be real. If I was plugged in to an internet connection that was solid, local area connection, it would have been a lot quicker than the Verizon phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I did this on a highway in the middle, going through
probably
tunnels.
not the safest thing.
My phone, I dropped
probably
calls
not
on my phone. No, I was not
is
driving
it legal
myself.
to text and is it legal to download get on your laptop in the middle of the interstate and download video?
My dad did the driving all day yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I was in the passenger car and just had the laptop going. And Chris Hatfield from InsideTheVille.com rode with us.
Cute.
Yes.
Little trio there.
It was incredible. But the Sean Watson, Teddy Bridgewater moment at the end of the game was incredible. And the whole game changed after Teddy's long touchdown score, and then Terrell Floyd on the kickoff goes down there, knocks the ball out, and Calvin Pryor recovers it. Next play, Devontae Parker touchdown. Louisville scores 2 touchdowns in 16 seconds.
Ridiculous. Way to blow at Rutgers. Rutgers kind of handed the game over, but I mean, hey, that's why you play the game, right?
Well, Louisville kind of handed the game over in the beginning because they couldn't tackle. Those 2 missed tackles really were frustrating.
Missing tackles and turning the ball over on kickoff, a little bit different.
Right. Well, definitely, but
I know what you're saying.
You have 2 guys right there to make a play, and then Rutgers isn't getting anything at all on offense if it's not for that.
And the drops by Rutgers in the second half were just unbelievable.
And there were some really weird calls, like Eli Rogers' fumble, and that got overturned.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a fumble. How is that not a fumble? We were looking at it in the press. Looks like a fumble. And then there's a catch on the sideline, and then there's a late hit on Eli Rogers that we got the benefit of the doubt on. I don't know. There was some weird calls, but I'll take them. Kent State lost last night to Northern Illinois, and that means Louisville will be in the Orange Bowl. Stanford's in the Rose Bowl.
Maybe it won't rain on you. We'll find out.
No, we're definitely going to get hurt. There's going to be the rare Miami Hurricane in January.
Just because you were
Just
there.
because I'm there, yeah.
We got, speaking of, down in the Florida area, today at 10:30, not second hour of the show, we have Coley Harvey from the Orlando Sentinel. He's going to join us. We're obviously going to talk Louisville joining the ACC with him. He, being a Florida State, he follows the Florida State Seminoles. And, of course, Mark Stoops, leaving Florida State, coming to Kentucky. We'll see what their perception of him down there is like. Dave Spelker, 9:40, coming up in about 20 minutes or so, talking about this high school state championships going on.
Big game tonight.
Big game tonight, some games yesterday. And if maybe we might be getting my man Mike Gandolfo in. He's the recruiter for the Derby Classic. He's at the Hoops Fest, the Marshall County Hoops Fest. I kind of messed up on the times with him yesterday. Was confused on my days. We'll try to get Mike on. If it's not today, we'll get Mike on tomorrow. But, let's go to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line because our guy, Carolina Steve's on the line.
Carolina.
Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, congratulations to Central on their 3A state championship last night, 12-6 in overtime. That's, what is that, 3 out of the last 4 out of the last 5 they've won. They've built a real good program at that high school, and I'm glad to see them win the championship again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Isn't it Central and Belfry in the championship almost every year, Carolina?
Yeah, it's. I see that in there. They got a good school. Now, the performance by Teddy Bridgewater on Thursday night, talking about him coming out there and everything, I have seen one gutsier, in my opinion, football performance in colleges, which was Byron Leftwich at Marshall, where the lineman had to pick him up and carry him from where the play started to where that it ended, and I believe they won that championship game with him doing that.
They did.
So that's, to me, that is, I still have that picture in my mind of them two big hogs carrying the quarterback, and he wasn't no small thing. I think he was about 6'4", 250. So they earned their money that night, and that was just good. And the classiest thing I've ever seen during a football game happened on Facebook. My man to win the Heisman Trophy, and to my opinion, the best quarterback in the United States, Johnny Manziel, a.k.a. Johnny Football, posted on Facebook, and Eric Crawford shared it with his thoughts about Teddy Bridgewater, which was super. I thought that was that's one of the classiest things I've ever seen done by a college football player.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I know you brought that up yesterday. Did you catch that, Mark?
I did, yeah. We were, and it's a stark contrast to the backup quarterback at Duke, who was actually, trashing the Louisville football program. But no, I think one day you're going to see Johnny Manziel and Teddy Bridgewater sitting next to each other in New York for a Heisman, trophy at some point. So it was one of the gutsiest performances ever. I did see Brian Leftwich play that year in the GMAC Bowl against Louisville. It was I saw Roethlisberger and Leftwich in the back-to-back GMAC Bowls. They both beat Louisville in those bowls. But I saw Leftwich. He was still in pain from that injury that he suffered in that championship game, and they actually carried him in that game as well, once or twice. But yeah, that was a gutsy performance by Leftwich. But the Thursday night's game with Bridgewater, I mean, unbelievable. His teammates are picking him up off the ground. He's getting hit. It's cold.
You knew he was hurt.
Yeah, you could watch him, and you knew he was hurt. And we talked to him after the game, and he was in pain then. He's kind of tired. But he still had time to give everybody a hug and talk to you. And I mean, everybody it was so emotional. In the Sean Watson video that we have up and we've shared with everybody, it's been everywhere, and that's just a part of it. That's just like a small part of the emotion of that entire night. Crumb's Revenge. Mike Lindsay is going to post a highlight video today about that has all of our post-game coverage and stuff like that, and I hope everybody gets the chance to see it. But hey, Carolina, how excited are you with ECU finally getting a bid into the Big East Conference?
Well, I was happy for one day, then I realized the closest I can go to see them play now is Cincinnati. That's a little bit closer to going to Huntington, West Virginia. but I will go to Cincinnati to see them play if Cincinnati stays in there. I'm happy for them. They're 8-4. We find out after today where they go in the bowl game. It all depends on the Conference USA Championship. If UCF wins, they go to the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. If Tulsa wins, they go to the Carrier Bowl and play one of them schools from the Sun Belt and everything. And I just think it's great. First of all, Mark, I want to welcome you to Tobacco Road, the home of the Atlantic Coast Conference. And I think Louisville will be great. But you talk about 10 championships in 1 year, I'd be willing to bet a week's pay right now that they don't do it, the ACC, because strength of their program.
Absolutely. I mean, 10 championships in a year is almost unheard of. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to move into the Big East, or I'm sorry, the ACC and win 10. But I think they're still going to be competitive in a lot of these sports. Field hockey, they're going to have to take a major step up to win that championship. Men's soccer is going to be really fun to watch. I do think Louisville's women's
might
basketball
help Ken Lola stick around as well.
Right. I do think Louisville's women's basketball is really strongly positioned in that league. But it's a great football move, but it's a great college basketball move. I mean, this is going to be the greatest conference in college basketball history. I mean, the Big East was incredible. This puts that to shame.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Carolina. We appreciate the call as always. We got to go talk to our high school guy, Mike Gandolfo, now about the Marshall County Hoop Fest. Carolina, looks like he dropped off. But, yeah, Carolina's always appreciate the call. Yeah, it's interesting. Little ACC. We're going to talk more about that. We got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a full show.
We might need to add an hour.
We might need like 5 hours today. Luckily, we got a show tomorrow as well. But, we're going to come back. We're going to get Mike Gandolfo. He is the Derby Classic recruiting coordinator. He was at the Marshall County Hoop Fest last night where Ballard's Quentin Snyder took on the Harrison Twins' team from Texas. Very, very good game. Andrew Wiggins played. So we're going to get the update from him. We'll be right back to the Weekend Sports Buzz.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. We're getting hyped in here.
You get my glow sticks, buddy.
Glow sticks, getting the whistle. Going crazy here in the Weekend Sports Buzz. 1450 to sportsbuzz.com. Check us out. Of course, I'm Tyler Boyd. We got Mark Blankenbaker. Our man Adam is in the studio producing it up, spinning the music.
I mean, he's my favorite producer.
He's great. He's great. But let's go to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line. If anybody wants to call that number, we'd love to talk to you all about Louisville, the ACC, Louisville basketball, Louisville football, Kentucky. Everything.
How about some Mark Stoops?
Mark Stoops. We're definitely going to talk Mark Stoops.
I'm
but
going
right
to that
now,
tomorrow. We're
going to talk locally what's going on. It's big Marshall County Hoot Fest with my man Mike Gandolfo. He is the head recruiter for the Derby Festival Classic game right here in Louisville. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
We're doing great. It's been a few months since we've last spoken. Of course, Mike joined me in studio. I believe he may have he filled in for you, Mark.
Probably one of those days that I couldn't be here.
Yeah, you're not here much. But Mike was at the Hoop Fest all day yesterday. How was the event?
The event is amazing. I mean, we had there was 3 premier games last night. Starting off with watching Andrew Wiggins and Huntington Prep play Memphis East, and then we got to watch Oak Hill take on Curry from Illinois, and then the nightcap, which was by far the best game of the night, got a little UK-UofL matchup with the Harrison twins and their Fort Bend Travis team going up against Quentin Snyder and Ballard High School.
Yeah.
And what a matchup of just 2 great point guards, if nothing else, to see the Harrison kid and Quentin Snyder go at it, and they put on quite a show. I was looking for my box score, and I don't have it with me, but I know Quentin had 25 points or more, and one of the Harrison twins had somewhere around 25, 26, and the other one had right around 18, and the game went down to the wire with Ballard having a shot to tie or take the lead as the clock expired, and then it was just a great defensive effort by Fort Bend Travis to win it.
I'm pretty sure, Louisville commit and, Ballard, a great point guard, Louisville Magic, leading their way. I believe he, had 10 assists as well. He's not just a scorer. This kid is the real deal, Mark. I know you're excited about Quentin Snyder, as all of Card Nation should be. Mike, if I'm correct, the game between Louisville and Ballard, it was the nightcap, obviously, the highlight of the night in Fort Bend, Texas, which does have the Harrison twins who are committed to Kentucky. It came down to free throws. Did Aaron knock down the final 2 to seal the deal?
It was he did. He actually, and then they missed 2, but right before that to kind of open up the door. Ballard was down pretty substantially at halftime, 8 or 9 points, and the coaches I was sitting with, we looked at each other and said, Ballard's got to come out and they got to win this first 4 minutes of the second half, and they did exactly that. Ballard's just so well coached, and they've got a lot of talent and a lot of young talent. They're loaded with juniors and sophomores. But then their senior, Levon Holland, really came out and played very well for him. He might have forced the last shot a little bit, but sometimes you want your senior to do that. And he really opened up some eyes, especially with 3 very athletic alley-oop dunks that he had throughout the game. It was a pretty impressive game by Ballard, coming back, fighting back. They would fight back, and then Fort Bend would open it back up a little bit, but they never gave up. And it was
an interesting game with packed house, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. More so, really, it got really late for that Ballard Fort Bend Travis game. So there were people who left before the game was over, but when the game started and they announced the Harrison twins, the place went crazy. I mean, it was all Kentucky fans. Well, I guess 90% Kentucky fans. And probably the funniest thing of the night, when the game started, Tom Crean was there, and over the PA they announced that the number 1
ranked Indiana Hoosier coach Tom Crean was there, and he just got showered with booze from all the Kentucky fans over there.
Yeah, I was trying to follow this one on Twitter. I was following you, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, at Derby Classic B-Ball.
It's at Derby Classic BB, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, at Derby Classic BB. Follow Mike on Twitter. I was following on there. Yeah, I saw that he was showered down with booze. Another guy I wanted to ask you about, I'm not sure if you were in attendance in time to see him, but Andrew Wiggins, did you catch him?
Oh, yeah, we were there. Made sure we got there nice and early so we could see Wiggins play. And, you know, the other thing you got to know about Wiggins' team is that his team is completely loaded with a lot of other really good players, including Xavier Rathamage, who's going to Florida State. Moses Kingsley is going to Arkansas. And then they've got a sophomore who Montague Gill Caesar, who is just going to be like just a complete stud. But Wiggins is just so much better than those guys. It's not even funny. He had 29 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 block shots, and no turnovers.
Wow.
And as impressive as he was on the offensive end, he was that much more impressive on the defensive end. Memphis East has a very good shooter, a very good scorer by the name of Nick King. And Nick King came out of the gate hot. I mean, he was stroking it. I think he had 13 of his team's first 16 points. He had something like 13, 14 points in the first quarter. Then they switched over. They tried a little boxing chaser. But then they put Wiggins on him, and the kid looked like he wanted to cry by the end of the third quarter, and he finished with 18 points.
Wow, that's
Wiggins. All five of Wiggins' block shots were on perimeter jumpers, and that's really impressive.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous stat line. When you announced that, I woke over at Mark and we're like, whoa.
Oh, like, wow.
Come on down to Lexington, please. Andrew Wiggins. That guy is super talented. Are you going to be, were you just there yesterday? Are you there today at all?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to be out there today, too. I'm going to go check out a little bit of Bullitt East, even though Derek Wilson's not playing.
Yes.
But I will be there for all 3 games tonight, too. Because you know, you got your 3 main teams, the Oak Hill, the Fort Bend Travis, and the Huntington Prep. But like the Southwind school that's going to be playing tonight, they're very good as well. They got 2 top 35 kids. One of them's going to Missouri, and I'm blanking on where the other kid's going. But they've got 2 really good players too that we want to make sure that we get out and see.
Well, yeah. Again, Mike Gandolfo, our Derby Festival Classic recorder. I wanted to ask you about that now, since you are, it is getting into the time, high school basketball is in full force, getting kicked off now with the holiday tournaments coming up. When do you start looking for guys to come here to Louisville to participate in the Derby Classic?
We're in there now. I mean, obviously, this is a little bit of a different year. We don't have a whole lot of guys who are uncommitted. Mm-hmm. So we pretty much know, for example, we know where U of L stands, and so we can go after Anton Gill and Okoye right now. We're not going to, even though because Terry Rozier played in the game last year, we're not going to have him back. But the other 2 guys, we'll go over and we'll get those guys locked up, and we're going to try to go after Willis and the other UK guys. I feel really good about getting Willis, and then getting the IU guys, because Noah Vonleh, who's just signed with IU, and then Troy Williams, who signed with IU, played for Oak Hill last night. Both are just outstanding players, and so we'll go after those kids and try to lock down the local recruits, and then see what we can do to fill in the roster around them. But yeah, we were there last night with invitations in hand, and we're ready to get this thing rolling.
That's great. I'm glad we got to speak to you a few moments, Mike, to update the Hoop Fest now that the season's going on, and you're in the full force of things. I'm sure we'll be talking to you a lot more and getting the update for the for the Derby Classic here in Louisville. We appreciate you taking a few moments.
Anytime, guys.
Have a good one.
All right, bye.
Andrew Wiggins, 29 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 boards, no turnovers.
Who is he considering? I know he's considering Kentucky.
North Carolina, I believe, is on the list. I think Florida State is on the list. Florida State isn't just on the list; they're player for him as well. Is what I've been hearing. He's the real deal. If John Calipari can get Andrew Wiggins to add to the 2013 class, you can just go ahead and size up the rings. It's official.
Right. Well, It's hard for me to follow recruiting. You know my opinion on it. Yeah, I always want to do what's now, but it is fun to kind of listen to Mike talk about who he's targeting, because that Derby Classic is really a good event to go to.
Yeah.
Even for somebody like me who really I tune out recruiting for a lot of different reasons, so I can focus on what I actually do. Because it can be so distracting.
I mean, during the season, when you're on the road, Mark, every other week for football, and basketball's here, what you're doing with your site, the way you all roll, and the way our site goes, we got the guys, and we want you to keep doing what you do, Mark.
Exactly.
You bring great stuff.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
You can actually follow Mark because he's so awesome. U of L Sheriff 50, right?
That's correct. At UofLSheriff50.com.
And of course, cardsandcats.com.
And if you were following me before the Rutgers game, you knew Teddy wasn't out there, and then you knew that he was, and then you knew that Corvin Lambden had a hamstring injury, and that's why he wasn't getting the ball, and then he came back.
Updates. Mark Blankbaker. Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzzline 384-1450. If you don't want to call, if you're scared to call and you want to just shoot us a text if you're on the road. And
why would anybody be scared?
If you like texting and driving, Lotus Gunworks text line 414-1450. Shoot us a text in here. We'll read that right on air. Let's go to the buzz line. Our man right here in Indiana. The Truth is on the line. Good morning.
Well, good morning, man. I'll tell you what, it's a great day in the neighborhood, ain't it?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in our neighborhood, in all of the area right now.
Yeah, why not? Indiana going to win the national championship in soccer. Notre Dame going to win the national championship in college football. And the great Indiana Hoosiers going to go undefeated in basketball with the greatest ball player of all time, the Big Nelson Waper. You know who the Big Nelson Waper is?
And Big Guy used to play in the NBA?
No, I call Cody Zell. That's his nickname, the Big Vanilla Wafer.
Vanilla Wafer.
Vanilla Wafer.
I thought you were talking about. Okay, never mind. That's not here there. Vanilla Wafer. I like that nickname. Not bad. Now, truth, I was on the Montrell Jones show yesterday talking to him about this, and I said it. I officially announced it. Indiana is going to win the championship this year.
And you know what's so good about it? People didn't know this. You know, Cody Zell has been sick since basketball season started. And that's why he played good. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know he's been fighting some kind of virus since the season started. And then they said they found out what was wrong with him, and that's why he looked so good against North Carolina. He run like a deer. He can beat me running down court.
I mean, that's not easy to do, I'm sure, Truth. Indiana looked very, very good against those Buckeyes. I mean, not Duke. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
North Carolina.
What about Teddy Bridgewater? What about Teddy Bridgewater playing with a broken wrist and still got the job done?
And a busted.
They say a lot.
And a busted leg.
About him. They say a lot about that young quarterback, and I'm got him to make sure the number 2 Heisman Trophy coming into football. What you think about that?
Absolutely. One arm, one leg. Beat the number 14 defense in the country on one arm and one leg. It just says that, Teddy Bridgewater isn't just an amazing quarterback. It says that he's a superhero, to me.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you with this. Ain't you so glad that we're not hearing about Calipari basketball team this year? Now Kentucky trying to get excited about football, and they got a good coach, but I don't know if they're gonna spend money to get the facility up, because he's a great coach. He can recruit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's actually something I wanted to ask Tyler about is how was it, Tyler, to go and play Notre Dame, because Kentucky basketball, we all know Kentucky basketball, and go on ESPN,
right,
and they do a 2-hour infomercial for Notre Dame football.
And it was ridiculous, Truth. I'm sure, Truth, did you watch the game? I'm sure you enjoyed it. But, yeah, it was an infomercial for Notre Dame. Kentucky, on the game, Kentucky was just awful. There's nothing past it. Kentucky was just awful. It was just a bad game. But the Notre Dame infomercial was just ridiculous. I couldn't stand it.
It was.
Even
I'll tell you what kept on making me mad. They just kept on. What's the linebacker for Notre Dame? Number
Mateo,
5.
Yeah.
He just seemed like Dick Vitale was going crazy because I know his daughter went to Notre Dame. They just got off the ball game. They just want to advertise their football team. But I promise Notre Dame I'm going to get my Hoosier defense right, and we're going to go up there and beat Notre Dame in football.
There you go, Truth. We appreciate the call, my man. Yeah, I know when he even agrees that Notre Dame infomercial was going on, that
this is probably too bad.
Probably too bad, but on the game, Mark, I mean, Kentucky was just bad. It was bad from basically the start. I know they had an early lead, but they just weren't there. It was a bad game, first road game for the team. I'm not even. I'm done saying young team for the team. I'm done with the young stuff. The young stuff is out the door. This is just the team. They weren't ready. Hopefully they'll be more prepared today. Big game today against Baylor in Rupp Arena. I know we can talk about that here in a second. The second hour is going to be loaded with a lot of UK U of L, the ACC talk and the basketball talk in Kentucky. But we got to go to our break because now we're going right to high school football. State championships going on. Dave.
We got Dave.
That's all you need to know. Dave Spelker, Vite Magazine, coming up next. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
So they believe us if we tell them the reasons why. Did we take it too far? Take it too far? Did we chase the rabbit into Wonderland? Lose 100 grand, will they understand? It was all to stay away for the longest.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
We're back here at the Weekend Sports Buzz, 384-1450. Give us a shout on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line. Mark Blankenbaker, Tyler Boyd here, getting you through your Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, we had a really handsome-looking guy just walk into the studio. I haven't seen this guy in forever.
He's late. Matt McCarthy, the producer, is late. First time he has walked in late to here to the 1450 studios. We got to let him have a little riff, but he is wearing proper attire today. He's got an all UK blue shirt on.
Good-looking guy.
Got a great hat on UK. I'm sure he's got khakis on, maybe jeans. He's looking good today, Matt McCarthy. Follow him on Twitter at KentuckySports.co. Oh, he's got khakis on.
Man.
Speaking of looking good, Mark, my man here's got a sweet Ryder Cup jacket on. Nice Cardinals pants, sweatpants with the solid black Dockers. Looking good.
Yeah, I'm definitely in scrub mode right now. After being in the car for 11 hours yesterday and barely sleeping, I just rolled out of bed and came here.
That's funny. Well, anyways, let's stop beating around the bush here and get to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz on and talk high school football with our guy from Vipe Magazine, Dave Spelker. Good morning, Dave. Dave, Adam. Can we unmute Dave?
Face for radio on this end of the phone, huh?
Dave, we actually didn't hear you. Our producer, Matt, just walked in late, and he didn't unmute you. Now you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. I was just saying you've got the good-looking guy there in the studio and the perfect face for radio on this end of the phone. Is that how it is?
I'm sure that's not true, Dave.
How are you doing today, Dave? I know you've a big weekend for Vipe Magazine.
Well, I tell you, I'm pumped after listening to you guys in the last segment talking about the Derby Festival game, because that's something that Vipe is very close to. We're always there each year. We do a $10,000 shot contest at the Night of Future Stars, and it's going to be here before we know it, and that is always a lot of fun. So that was
goodness.
Energetic to hear talk about that, and it sounds like it's going to be an awesome set of rosters this year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, how can I rig the system to get me in the $10,000 shot?
Let me tell you, we had a fellow last year that almost won it. You have like 24 seconds. You have to hit a layup, a free throw, top of the circle, and mid-court. And it can be done. I mean, you have to be, dead on the money with your shooting. But this fellow last year just missed to the left. And it's very exciting. It's a lot of fun. And, we're going to give it away one of these years.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Maybe it'll be this year, because I'm sure I'll be there and watch it as I have been every year. Again, Dave is with Vipe Magazine. Get out there and grab a Vipe. I know it's at every mom and pop store. It's at all the local schools, Dick's Sporting Goods, Kroger's. But Dave, are you in Bowling Green? That's my first question.
I am not right now. I plan on being there later today.
Okay.
So, yes.
What time? We have the Trinity PRP State Championship that is this evening. Also, there are games before that. Yesterday, we'll start with yesterday. I'm sure you saw that local Central, they beat Belfry, like Carolina Steve brought up, the 3A state champions, Central Yellow Jackets.
Talk about a defensive struggle. 12-6 in overtime. Central Yellow Jackets do it. That's a three-peat for them in 5 out of the last 6 years.
Wow.
And, I don't think this team's gotten enough love this year. After I thought about it, they were 13-2. They lost by 1 point to PRP, who is in the 6A final, and the other loss was to St. X. Very respectable there when you're considering St. X is 6A, Central 3A. So 13-2, and the team really doesn't have a superstar, not like last year when they had Ace Wales.
Yeah.
So Coach Scroggins, he's amazing. I mean, he truly has those kids believing in the system. It's proven. A lot of times these schools complain about, well, we don't have a chance against the big boys. Well, there's your model right there at Central High School. Just follow it, and obviously it's paid off for them.
Oh, there's some talented kids that go through Central High School, even if they aren't talking about Trinity, St. X, the males and PRP. Usually Mark, those are the guys that get the hype. But yeah, everybody knows that Central has talent, and obviously it's paid off the last so many years. Today though, the big ones, Trinity and PRP. Dave, are you excited for this?
Undefeated PRP, the criticism there, maybe their schedule hadn't been all that tough. Trinity, it's hard to argue that they haven't played a whale of a schedule. It should be an outstanding game. Both teams mirror each other. They have speed. They run the spread offense. Trinity will be without Quick, it looks like. I've heard yes, I've heard no, but I really don't think he's going to play. So some of the younger kids, your Cody Swalback, Bonifon's going to have to step up. It could be a pinball machine on that scoreboard if those two offenses get going.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I actually know a guy around in here area. I won't say his name. He's a PRP alum. I used to work with him, and this guy couldn't be more excited for, as he likes to call it, locally, the Ridge. He really does, Dave. He really believes his team is going to come out and knock off Trinity. And you know what? I won't be surprised if they do it.
It wouldn't shock me. I do think Trinity's probably a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdown favorite, but. If the PRP defense can slow down Trinity, they don't even have to stop them. They just need to slow them down. PRP has the firepower to put points on the board. So, we saw 12-6 yesterday. Good Lord, we could see, 112-106 today. It could be last team with the ball wins.
Let's add a digit.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Let's add a digit to the scoreboard down in Bowling Green, and may have to move the basketball scoreboard over.
Yeah, really.
To the football.
Exactly. Make sure there's that third number up there, huh?
Exactly.
No, it should be fun. Both teams well coached. Both teams, as I mentioned, have the speed and the stars to compete with one another. I'm excited. Good luck to both. The PRP community is amazing. I don't know if you've been out around Dixie Highway lately, but that community really rallies around that school and all their teams, not just football. Obviously, PRP's been very good in baseball and basketball over the years. Well, now they've got a football team in the finals, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Last thing I can remember PRP dominating in was, I think they were decent in basketball. They had a Juwan Spillman guy. They were good then, but maybe before then it was Danny Almonte and the Little League Baseball World Series champions is the last thing I can remember the PRP area being very, very good at. So, I'm glad for them. It'll be an interesting game. Also, I don't off the top of my head, Dave, I'm not for sure the matchups. I do know local where the game's being played, Bowling Green. They're in the state championship for their division.
Bowling Green is. I would definitely make them a heavy favorite, especially since they're at home. Collins, unfortunately, ran into the Highlands buzzsaw yesterday. Highlands had a great season, but
yes.
Playing Highlands, that's tough any way you look at it. So, minus that championship game, the Titans had a great season, and they're one of our VIPE schools, and we love them, and they have nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a fun day. Now, about the state championship, it's been in Louisville, now it's in Bowling Green. Now, to you, is that a bad move on the going? Everybody has to go to Bowling Green. It's not really centrally located. Obviously, the state champion is both the state champion are going to either be here in Louisville, so everybody has to travel there. So is that bad move in your mind, or are you okay with this?
Well, in my mind, I'd much rather be driving to Papa John's today. It's probably right in the middle of PRP and St. Matthews if you looked at it on a map. Instead, all these fans have to drive, several hours to get down there. I don't like it. It's not my call. I guess the powers that be in the KHSAA think it's a good thing. But, realistically, there's always Louisville area teams in there, Again, this year, PRP, Trinity, Collins, Central.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, guys, bring it to Papa John's. It's a great facility and more centrally located. Just think the folks from Highlands, they had a huge haul to, get down there yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, nobody's asking me, but, boy, if they do, I'm voting bring it back here or put it in Lexington every now and then. That would be, I'd be up for that too.
I've thought about why not just 3 years, 1 year here, 1 year Lexington, 1 year in Bowling Green.
Let's get a rotation going.
Rotate it.
Why not? It makes total sense.
Let's do it. Let's get a petition going, and we'll all sign it. And
let's do this.
And by golly, we'll get it done. How about that?
We got the power, Dave.
And I'm sure they would like to have it in Owensboro or something like that, or Hopkinsville. I don't know. There's other places. Obviously.
It really is. But, again, it's Dave Spelker, VIPE Magazine. Before we let you go, it's a new issue. It's coming out, basketball, right?
It should be out this coming week. We've got it is our basketball preview. I love the cover. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert or anything, but we've got a young man and a young lady from the area on the cover, and I love our basketball preview this year. We had Rashawn Myers helped us a little bit from 1450 The Sports Buzz. He helped identify some of the key players, and I'm really trying to do my homework this year. I'm doing a top 10 list every week, putting that up on the VIPE website. So I invite everybody to check that out and help me out, give me your opinions on who should be in there and who should be out of there. But it's going to be a great season. Looking forward to it. Today is kind of the changing of the guard day with football ending and a lot of this basketball heating up, so it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like Dave mentioned, his top 10. We'll talk about his top 10 each Saturday, right here on 1450 when we have Dave on. Occasional Sundays. We're going to break down your top 10, Dave, and see how it really looks and get the callers, get their thoughts.
Would love it. It's unique because it blends the teams from Kentucky and Indiana because that's our VIPE coverage area.
Yep.
So normally you wouldn't see a Ballard and a Jeffersonville in the same, top 10. But we're going to do it, and we'll have some fun doing it. Last thing before I go, I want to give a shout-out to my son, Dane. He is coaching an all-star team today in E-Town.
Okay.
It's 7th grade all-star team, and he's one of the coaches on this squad, and I think they're playing the Nashville team today.
There you go.
Good luck to him and the Louisville guys, as ultimately they could get to San Antonio.
Wow.
If they can win, and this is all a part of the All-America Bowl that the Army puts on. Quick and Hatcher will be playing in that in January. The team that Beatty's coaching, well, they have more than high school. They have middle school and kids that have seventh grade teams and 8th grade teams too. So we wish them luck.
That's awesome. Well, congrats to your son for coaching that. I'm sure it won't be the last time we hear from him. So Dave, you enjoy your Saturday. Have fun in Bowling Green, and I guess go Rocks.
Well, I'm happy for the local area no matter what happens, but I kind of like to see my Green do all right.
There you go.
I'm
going to have a good one.
All right, good talking to you, Dave. I'm kind of going to throw my weight behind PRP tonight.
I'm going for PRP.
Little David and Goliath matchup. I know they're both undefeated, but the spotlight's been on Trinity the whole year.
For
and you
years.
know how I am. If I don't care, if I don't have a dog in the fight, I'm going to go for chaos. So,
I say go Rocks for Dave. I'm going for PRP just because I'm with you. I want to see the upset. I just want to see the local, or like us, we can at least write something special. Trinity was upset.
Yeah, they were.
PRP goes undefeated. That would be interesting.
And I live right by Trinity, so
yes, you do.
So I'll be happy if they win. But sometimes it's just nice to get a little change up.
My
you know
uncle
what I mean?
is part of was a worker at Trinity. He's a teacher there, so I'd be if they did win. I'm not going to be mad if they lost. I might be able to send him a text.
Normally when I go to the ice cream shop, I order chocolate, but sometimes I mix it up. Sometimes I get a little orange sherbet or maybe a little strawberry in there.
So you want some poop in your ice cream?
No poop in my ice cream.
Like John Calipari's
that's one of the better coaching analogies that he used.
Yes, it was. That was an analogy I will possibly use the rest of my life.
Yes.
It was great. If anybody wants to join this shenanigans, 384-1450, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line. 414-1450, the Lotus Gunworks text line. We got just a minute left or so before a break. In the second hour again, from the Orlando Sentinel, Coley Harvey. We're going to talk to him about Mark Stoops. Florida State, his last game is today for Florida State. He's taking over a job tomorrow, press conference tomorrow for Kentucky. We're talking a lot about that, obviously, in the second hour. And, of course, we're going to talk to Louisville to the ACC with Coley. Being at Florida State, in the Florida State territory he is in, he'll have a lot to take about that. Mark, is Florida State kind of lobbied for Louisville, if I'm correct?
Yeah, Florida State, Clemson, all the schools that are kind of interested in basketball, like Miami, which really doesn't really have a dog. They have their own issues right now.
Yeah.
So they just went along with everybody else. They wanted a football school. Like they wanted somebody that would provide a basketball that would not embarrass the conference academically, but that was focused on football because the ACC has had a football problem for a while. So adding Louisville solved a little bit of an issue, more so than adding UConn did, and I think ultimately that's why
adding
Louisville
UConn made no sense.
Right, when you sell 2,771 tickets to the Fiesta Bowl, and you cost your school like $4 or $5 million because your fans don't travel and your fans don't care, it doesn't matter how big your television market is. If people aren't turning on the TV to watch that product, it makes no difference what size your market is. You know what I mean? Like, because what size of the market is watching. And I think that's what really played a bigger role. When you get into to the mathematics of it, Louisville's 800,000 TV set market. 80% of those people will watch these games.
Yeah.
UConn, 1.2 million TVs, 10% watching. You don't have to be a math major to understand that that's 10% to like 75%, and the 75% is bigger than that 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the fact that that UConn's football product just isn't where it needs to be. Even though they beat us in triple overtime at home, I mean, you got to look at it from a macro perspective rather than a one-time deal. I don't think if Teddy doesn't get hurt in that game, we probably are able to win it in regulation.
Yeah,
but
I think so
But who's
too.
to say?
It doesn't matter now because it's over. You're in the Orange Bowl.
Exactly. Over in the Orange Bowl and in the ACC.
There you go.
Got what we wanted.
Mark's on the Hotels.com booking his apartment or booking his hotel right now. Let's get to our break. We're going to come back. A lot to talk about in the second hour. The Weekend Sports Buzz.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. Call in on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the second hour of the Weekend Sports Buzz right here on 1450 AM. Check us out on 1450, thesportsbuzz.com for great UK U of L blogging, all the local schools really, of course KentuckySports.co and cardsandcats.com. Just got a little ESPN reporting that Mark Stoops will not coach the bowl game for Florida State, which is kind of we already kind of knew that, but now I guess it's confirmed.
Right, but he's going to be in today's game.
Yes. Let's start out with that.
Yeah, today's game, is the ACC championship with Florida State versus Georgia Tech. Now, this is a weird one.
This could be implement of who you could play.
Yes. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's more than likely Louisville plays the winner of this game. And one of the weird things that's happening is that Georgia Tech is 6-6.
That's terrible.
And 5-3 in the ACC. Okay, so they were 1-3 out of conference this year. But they found themselves in the ACC championship game, and if they win, they're in the Orange Bowl,
which is kind of like Kent State almost making an Orange Bowl and not even deserving it at all.
But they filed for a waiver and were granted this waiver that if they lose the game, they're still eligible for a bowl.
That makes no sense.
As a loser, and that happened last year with UCLA, and UCLA got trounced and finished their season.
Anyways, I think we both agree Florida State's going to beat them up.
I think so. I mean, I think so. But, I mean, Georgia Tech plays that weird style, and so, some teams are able to do it. But their defense is so good, coached by Mark Stoops, that they should be okay in this game, and they should win. And it'll probably be Louisville, Florida State in the Orange Bowl in Miami on January 1st.
So who do you got, Florida State?
I'll take Florida State.
It's the championship week, so we're going to get the predictions out here for championship week at least. Nebraska versus Wisconsin, Big 12 or Big 10 championship.
Big 10. I like Wisconsin.
Do you?
I like Wisconsin because Wisconsin had them
neutral location.
Neutral location. Wisconsin had them down in Lincoln earlier this year. It was actually the same day as the monsoon Southern Miss Louisville game.
Okay.
And I was kind of watching it in the press box, the leaky press box.
I remember.
I got Wisconsin because they blew it in Lincoln.
I was actually going to say the same thing. I like Wisconsin. I think they're the beast Monty Ball will have a touchdown or probably two, like he always does. NCAA record holder touchdowns. I'm going to stick with you on that.
And I don't think Nebraska can move the ball anymore. I think they're done.
I think Nebraska's just Nebraska these days. They're not the old school Nebraska where you're feared. Big 12 championship, Texas at Kansas State. I'm going with the upset here. I'm going with Texas. I just think it's going to happen.
It could. It's not a championship game. It's a regular season game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they don't, because they only have 10 teams.
That's
in the
right.
Big 12,
they don't have a championship,
which is really messed up. But yeah, I am not going to agree with you.
You going Kansas State?
I'm going to go K-State.
I'm just trying to get an upset in there.
I know you are.
That's my upset.
I like K-State in that one. I don't like Texas at all.
Let's see. Let's go up the list a little bit more here. It wasn't too much more. Oh, the big one.
Of course.
Georgia, Alabama.
Georgia, Bama. I like Bama.
4 p.m.
I like Bama a lot.
You like Bama as I do, and I think probably 78 to 88% of the country.
And I was up in New Jersey, I was talking to Rutgers fans, and for some reason, they think that Notre Dame is going to embarrass Alabama. And I had a very large and emphatic discussion with these people.
Did you let them know that Mark Blankenbaker knows they're wrong?
I know that they're wrong. I have a crystal ball. It's going to be one of the. It's going to be kind of like the 2007 championship when Florida depantsed Ohio State, and Ohio State didn't even gain 100 yards in that game. That's what that's going to happen.
We're totally just erasing today's Georgia game, just talking about blowing out the Notre Dame already.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just throw out this SEC
I think today's game will be better than people think.
Yes, it will be better than the national championship game by far.
Today is the national championship game.
I am okay saying that, actually, because Georgia-Alabama is going to be a way more hotly contested game than Alabama-Notre Dame. And I know that game is going to get huge ratings, and ESPN's going to pump it up so much. I mean, if you've seen the Kentucky –
their whole alumni is Notre Dame.
Right. If you saw the Duke or the Kentucky, North Carolina, or Notre Dame game in basketball, imagine that for a month.
Times 100.
Right.
I bet they're talking about it right here on game day already.
Probably. They're already talking about Notre Dame. They're finding a way to get Tim Tebow into the conversation.
Oh, my gosh.
They're doing everything they can to get Notre Dame, Tim Tebow, and Duke basketball
Brian Kelly
into
live on the set in 10 minutes. That'd be weird. I would have never guessed.
Right.
They're going to talk to Brian Kelly at Alabama,
and
Georgia.
he's in Atlanta for some reason.
Yeah, he's in Atlanta.
Actually, I would be in Atlanta if I were him because I know I'm playing the winner of this game and I'm going to watch
Just
it
hang
live
out
and
for a
scout.
month. That's a good point. So those are the games today. Tune into it. But let's get right into, again, Coley Harvey, 10:30 from the Orlando Sentinel. We're going to talk about all this crazy stuff. Let's just start with, I guess, Mark Stoops and Florida State, since that was the game going on today. Florida State, as Kentucky has dipped in. They hired Mark Stoops over the week. Everybody knows that. We don't talk about that. But the press conference will be tomorrow here at Keeneland, if I'm for sure.
No, it's at the Nutter Chain. It's not open to the public, so don't, show up. But yeah, it's at Nutter, and it's tomorrow. I'm going to go. So I'm going to see what's going on down there with Mark Stoops. See if he's got a voice after the ACC championship.
Can you live feed this, Mark?
If Matt gives me the instructions how to,
Matt's
be
here
happy
to get
to try.
those instructions. I think we should try to do that. It'd be awesome. I love the hire. I've talked about it, doing the Montreux show. I think this, in my mind, this is the best hire that's going to happen this season. Yeah. Unless Bobby Petrino gets hired by Tennessee or Auburn. Will be the best hire because I am a Bobby fan regardless of his issues. I don't care.
I'm with you.
This is the best hire out of the 16 openings or 14 openings in the country.
We'll see when it's all said and done because,
Kirby Smart might leave.
Right now, Kentucky's the only school that's really hired anybody, right? Mm-hmm. So, you can't say right now it's obviously the best hire.
Tennessee down.
It's the only one. So, yeah, it's the best one right now because it's the only one that's been completed. But
it'll be top 3 regardless.
I think it will be in the end. And I like what Barnhart did going out and not having to have the requirement that a person has been a head coach.
That's true. Charlie never was.
Charlie never was. Petrino never was. Louisville's 2 most successful hires at the head coach position in the last 20 years have been non-head coaches. The only other one that really worked out was, John L. was a head coach.
Mm-hmm. Craig Thorpe was the head coach and it was awful.
Howard Schnellenberger was a head coach.
Yeah.
And that worked out, obviously. But, like you said, Craig Thorpe that didn't work. So it's not a recipe for greatness because if he was a head coach, he was a great head coach. He probably wouldn't be.
Now this would be back-to-back coaches for UK that hasn't had a head coaching experience. Joker obviously had no head coaching experience.
That's true.
And he was a bust. But this is the more and more I look at it. This is Louisville's in the making. Not Louisville. You know what I'm saying. But we had a bad 3 seasons with Joker. He wasn't a head coach. Now we got I'm sorry. That has nothing to do with it. We hired a guy that wasn't a head coach like Louisville and Charlie Strong, a defensive specialist.
Well, and then the other thing is I'm interested to ask Coley Harvey this question when we get him on. I've seen several different people say that when Louisville or when Kentucky hired Mark Stoops, that the Louisville and Kentucky recruiting battle shifted from Jefferson County to Dade County.
To Dade County, yes.
And I'm interested to see if that really happens. Louisville has a very small class that they're going to bring in this year. So Miami, Florida State, Florida, Louisville's going to get a few players out of there maybe, but they really can't. They don't have enough scholarships because they don't have anybody leaving.
They got a lot of young talent. I mean, 11 seniors only?
Yeah, and only 8 of them on the scholarships. Mm-hmm. So they only have 8 scholarships departing, and they only had 6 available at the end of this year. So they're going to be full up on scholarships this coming fall, and they don't have a lot to give out this spring. So it's one of those things where it's like they're really looking for this 2014 class, because they're almost done with 2013.
Oh yeah.
The only way 2013 opens up is if there's a bunch of transfers. Which why would you transfer out of this program? It doesn't make any sense.
What do you think Mark Stoops, now being the guy for Kentucky, it seems that he's going to bring some guys from Florida State, maybe Coley, a couple of names have been mentioned. What does he need to do his first year? I know right now he's reached out to some of the recruits, like Khalid Thomas, one of the top recruits for Kentucky, possibly the best recruit, and he said, I'm honoring your commitment. Son, I want you.
He's got to – what he has to do in year one is he's got to be patient, and he's got to be steadfast. And he's got to identify the people who are going to be the leaders in year 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because Kentucky, I think, honestly, Kentucky isn't that far away. But they've been down for so long. They haven't had success for so long. So what he's got to do is he's got to go in year one and build a foundation, not even worry about the record. Just play, don't deviate, do what you're going to do in game plans. If you're getting blown out, stick to the game plan, because you have to teach your football team to stick to a game plan like Louisville did on Thursday night. They stuck to a game plan even when they were down 14-3. It ended up working. If you start panicking, trying to mix and match and patch things up, you can't ever work on who you actually are. So Kentucky is going to win with defense, and if they can keep Max Smith healthy,
that's huge.
They're gonna have a chance in the future. I actually think Jalen Whitlow probably fits better in a Mark Stoops style of an offense with who he's bringing in for offensive coordinator than Patrick Towles does. So
he has options at quarterback, which is good.
He has 3 great options. All 3 of those guys will be there for spring and healthy for spring, which will be huge. But ultimately, Florida State's going to have to run, or Mark Stoops is going to bring that Florida State run the football mentality, play defense.
Raymond Sanders, a lot of experience. Should be hopefully one of the better backs in the conference next year.
Raymond Sanders, but I'm looking at those 2 freshmen, that Dyshawn Mobley, and who's the other kid that redshirted? He was committed to Alabama, and he had a leg injury, so he set out this year. That guy, I cannot remember his name, but I remember doing research on him in the fall, thinking that he might be able to play. That guy could be legit.
I mean, the way I look at it, Kentucky does have some talent in the freshman class coming in. They have some talent. Mark Stoops might not have a toughest job as people think coming in that first 2 years. He might turn this around quicker than people think. And the way I see it, Mark Stoops turns it around, does what people want him to do. Like Charlie, go to a bowl. BCS, this is his school. There's nobody before him. It won't be. Yes, Rich Brooks did good for his tenure, but it's not his school still.
Right.
But if he goes BCS bowl and he wins something like that, and he's constantly winning 8-9 games, this is Mark Stoops' school. There's no reason for him to leave.
Well, he needs to focus on winning that East. Get into the SEC championship game.
That would be awesome.
That's the key. Don't worry about winning a national championship or winning the SEC. Focus on winning the SEC East only. And recruit for that and game plan for that, play your defense. And I actually think, to draw a Louisville comparison, I know Kentucky fans may hate this, Ron Cooper, awful results.
Yeah.
Great recruiter. Okay, he could recruit his pants off. So when John L. Smith came into the University of Louisville from Utah State, he had a full cupboard. Okay, now Louisville's schedule in 1998 was not Kentucky's schedule for 2013. I mean, Kentucky's schedule for 2013 is absolutely.
It might be harder than this year.
Way harder.
Because Bama,
because you got Alabama and LSU on it.
It'll be fun.
Oh, it's going to be
fun.
That's why he's got to be patient.
The fans have to be patient too. That's a key, which they will. I've noticed UK Athletics, some tweets throughout the people that are with UK. The fans have already put a surge for tickets.
Yeah, they had 400 people call
immediately.
Yeah, immediately. Which
they want
is
to
incredible.
renew. They got new people wanting. They've got. It's obviously it's research. Joker Phillips woke up the fans by saying we really sucked.
Yeah,
and now we want to be good.
And I tell you right now, I know Kentucky season ticket holders that have gone away from the program, gave up their parking pass.
Yep.
If you want to be a part of Kentucky football and you want to be treated well, you want to have great seats, great parking, pick up the phone and call them right now because there are open spaces available for you.
It won't be open long because.
And
it's rolling.
You might be able to wait a year. Okay?
That's about it.
You might be able to wait a year, but that's it. I'm excited for Kentucky football. I'm excited for their fans. People like you. You're my friends. I like to see you happy. I don't like to see my friends sad.
Yeah.
So when Kentucky wins the title, I'm happy for you. I really am. I'm a Louisville fan. I would like to win the title, but I don't. It doesn't upset me. You know what I mean? So I'm happy for you.
That craving is here, though, Mark.
Oh, yeah. I want the title. Yeah. Okay, but I wasn't in the championship.
Yeah, I know.
Kentucky beat us.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. I don't mind getting beat. I don't like when I feel like I gave something away or the officials took something.
I love to hire.
You know what I mean?
I want to get Coley Harvey's input on it here when we get him on in about 10 minutes because he's down there. I want to know the perception of Mark Stoops in Florida, in Dade County, in that area.
Right. Is he Bob Stoops or is he Mike Stoops?
Exactly. Now, I did hear something yesterday. There might be another Stoops on this coaching staff. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them.
They're like Plumleys. They just multiply.
They all look different, though. It's odd. I saw like a picture of like 4 or 5 of them standing next to
Yeah. How many
different?
How many milkmen have visited the Stoops household? You know, in the 1950s,
the milk,
1950s and 60s, and is Mrs. Stoops a fox like that?
Maybe so. Maybe it's
I'm worried about Mr. Stoops. You know, Grandpa Stoops right now because
Grandpa
none
Stoops.
of his sons look the same.
It is weird. It is very weird. 384-1450. If you want to talk about that, give us a shout. The Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line. Let's see here. Of course, today, Mark. You know, it's not just football or Kentucky basketball or Louisville basketball. There's big women's game here locally.
Yes, that's tomorrow, correct? At the Yum Center.
That is I thought it was today. It's today or tomorrow? It's
today,
tomorrow.
Today, Louisville plays Illinois State.
Well, the game's at 6
Center.
p.m.
Tomorrow?
It's 6 p.m. Regardless, it's at 6 p.m. I'm going to pull up this link right here.
The women's game is tomorrow.
Number 8 UK women versus, yes, it's tomorrow. Number 8 UK versus number 6 Louisville. Here in Louisville, it'll be a fun and very entertaining game. Kentucky and Louisville are both talented teams for the women's.
They are.
I know we don't know too much about them.
I like the Louisville women's team. They're finally healthy.
You know what I can say? I can support Louisville's women's being fine. I want Kentucky to win today, but I can be okay if Louisville goes and does okay, like their soccer. I don't care if you all win a steeplechase or a soccer national championship is what I'm trying to get to.
They're fun. Those types of things are really fun to rally around.
Yes.
Right. You know, and it's great for the youth programs here because these guys, they take their sons down or their daughters down and play. They get to see high-level soccer here in Louisville. They get to follow it.
Too.
It's huge. And, you know, sometimes it's more than just about like more than just like the sport itself. It's about the community. It's about coming together and really rallying around excellence. You know what I mean? And that's what I think
I just like seeing, you know, I'm not going to root for Louisville. ever to win a championship, but I can root for the city to have fun.
Right.
And if a soccer Final Four against Akron brings fun to the city for me, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Now, if you lose, I'm going to smile a little bit.
Right.
Okay, if you win, congratulations.
Well, the championship is in Birmingham. And I have family down there. So what kind of excuse do I have to go? You know, now I'll just go down for the soccer title.
Exactly.
It'll be perfect. It'll be my first soccer coverage I've ever provided for the University of Louisville. But I'll do it because I couldn't go to Santa Barbara, California.
Yeah.
I can't justify that.
Big East game in Santa Barbara, California. What a joke
is
that?
The national championship game in Santa Barbara for soccer against Akron. Why are those two teams playing in California?
I don't know. It's kind of like Trinity playing PRP in Bowling Green. Who knows? It's just weird stuff.
Messed up.
So yeah, that is tomorrow. I'm sure you can get out if you want to watch it. It'll be a fun game. I know a guy, John Hancock, will be there covering it for us. KentuckySports.co,
yes.
CarsandCats.com. So if you want to check out all the post game for John and probably some tweets, definitely follow him.
He'll take good care of that game.
He'll take good care of that game. John's very good at what he does. Kind of a random thing here. Actually, no, I'm going to say that later because we do have our guy coming up next. And before we get him on, Mark, I know it's been mentioned earlier in the show. I didn't get your true input of it, but Louisville going to the ACC, you couldn't be more excited about that.
You know what it does is it takes a situation where you're worried about becoming irrelevant more so than you probably already were.
Yeah.
On the national landscape because. You know, the Big East, when you first moved from Conference USA to the Big East, that was a huge bump. You know, you finished 4th in the country, finished 6th in the country. You want to be able to win a national title in all your sports. And you could do that out of the Big East except in football. You know what I mean? In the ACC, it makes everything possible. It makes retaining your head coach in Charlie Strong a lot more real possibility now.
Mm-hmm.
The money... It's $7 million extra dollars a year. It puts Louisville in the top 10 athletic budget in the
I believe you all are already like number 1 in the ACC without even stepping foot.
We were,
of, alcohol sales.
Yeah, not alcohol sales. It's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous.
I support
thing.
The ACC with my alcohol purchases at the Yum Center.
You know, $500,000 in the revenue line in alcohol isn't going to move the needle that much when you have a $90 million budget.
I just like to get on you a little bit.
I know. But
real question.
Yeah.
I haven't asked anybody. Does ACC sell alcohol?
They give the school the choice.
Okay, so Louisville's in. Okay, just
So we're good.
I did making sure you didn't have to renovate your whole landscape.
No, that's why we said no to the Big Ten.
Just making sure.
No, that's why they went with Rutgers instead of Louisville.
Yes.
But no, they give the school the choice, so you'll still be able to go and enjoy your adult beverage at Papa John's in the Yum Center.
Because you know you'd have 20 grand there at most without that alcohol. No, just joking.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, though, I mean,
but you're pumped. The ACC
huge.
move.
The ACC move. The basketball league is out of control.
Yeah.
Good. The
Mhm.
football is
Without
great too. You get Clemson and Florida State every single
Duke
year.
seems to be on the maybe rise.
Duke. Well, they're on the other division though, so
You're
we'll
still part
play
of the
them every year.
conference.
We're part of the conference. Got an
Conference,
automatic
Mark.
tie into the Orange Bowl
This
every
isn't
single
South
year.
and North Korea. You're part of the
They're
conference.
part of the conference. It's unbelievable, and you know, and we actually left Wednesday morning for Rutgers, and we were in the car. We left at 5 a.m. We knew that the teleconference with the ACC is at 7, and so we're on our phones. We're on the computer. We're tracking this thing, and we knew at 6 a.m. that this was going down. We're in the car.
I think we knew at 6 p.m. the night before.
We did, but I mean, I was getting confirmation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and everybody's like, you don't do a vote to say no, but we're getting confirmation at 6 a.m. And then from there on, it was a formality. You know what I mean? So then we're like watching the press conferences in the car. And it's just like the happiest ride through Pennsylvania that I think anybody has ever had in their life. If you've ever driven on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, you know how just maybe terrible of a drive that is.
I have actually done it, and it's awful.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
But we weren't worried about that. We were worried about Louisville and the ACC. So thank you, Atlantic Coast Conference, for making that the best drive through the Pennsylvania Turnpike ever.
There you go.
And then to go to Rutgers the next day, we actually went to New York City, walked around, did Rockefeller Center, Times Square, all the tourist stuff, Madison Square Garden. Bieber played there Thursday night.
Oh, gosh.
And it was a crazy scene out in front. And then went to the game. Teddy Bridgewater was amazing.
Teddy
drove
two-time.
home, and I passed out about 8 o'clock last night.
There you go. It's Mark Blankenbaker, cardscats.com. Let's get to our break so we can call our guy from the Orlando Sentinel, Coley Harvey, and talk about all this ACC and Mark Stoops talk. We'll be right back for the Weekend Sports Buzz.
This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. Call in on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Tyler Bloyd, Mark Blankenbaker, getting you through your Saturday morning here till the noon hour.
I'm hypnotized now.
I am very confused,
Thanks,
very, very confused with that lead-in song right there, Matt. But I guess it happens when you sleep in and you come in late. Your producer.
You just walk in, you're a producer. Looking handsome.
All days. They're looking good. Anyways, let's go to the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line because we got a guy on here that everybody's going to enjoy listening to. He is from the Orlando Sentinel and the Sun Sentinel in South Florida. Coley Harvey, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. A beautiful Saturday morning up here. Hope the same is down there.
Yeah, actually we're in Charlotte, and actually it's a beautiful morning here too. I don't know about tonight though; it might get ugly.
That's very true. Obviously, you're with the team, Florida State, going for the ACC championship, which is actually we'll start with that since you are the guy. What do you think about the game? Are your Seminoles going to take it home?
To be honest, it's tough to say. They've had a lot of distraction this week, obviously with Coach Stoops' hiring there at Kentucky, but then also you've had a few issues as far as where the other assistants could be going, and I think that they've been paying a lot of attention to that. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to focus in and actually focus to play a really unique offense there that Georgia Tech has this weekend. And if they can, then I think they're going to do okay. But there's some things off the field I guess they got to worry about first.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I guess you lead right into what I guess I'll start with first. Mark Stoops heading to Kentucky, leaving Florida State. Obviously, he is going to coach today. He will not coach in the bowl game. What is the perception of Mark Stoops down in Florida? Obviously, Jimbo Fisher is very pleased that he is taking this job. He got much praise from his players and basically the entire area.
Yeah, to be honest, they're looking at this guy. Of course, he's 45 years old and hadn't really had a head coaching opportunity at all come his way. Even last off season, there weren't very many head coaching vacancies where teams were actually kind of pulling him their way, saying, hey, we're interested in you. There really wasn't a whole lot of that, but there were other schools that were looking for him to be their defensive coordinator. And I guess it was kind of like people were saying, okay, you're just one more year away. We want to see what you do after this year. And then, of course, Florida State's defense was ranked number one for much of the year, coming into this weekend ranked number 2 right now in the country. And I think that was pretty much the validation that I guess, of course, people at Kentucky needed, and, of course, other schools that were also interested in talking to him. So, so obviously it's nothing but praise in Tallahassee because they know how hard he's worked. And also they know, or, his family knows how hard he's worked. Of course, Bob Stoops the other day even came out, Oklahoma's head coach, even came out and said that he was glad that his brother actually finally had this opportunity. So nothing but praise in Florida. They're going to be sad to see him go, but a lot of the fans understood that it was only a matter of time. I think that there was it was pretty common knowledge that this offseason that he'd be gone and maybe one or two other assistants might be gone too.
Now, obviously he has the family name Stoops. Like you mentioned, Bob Stoops, Oklahoma coach, Mike Stoops, another guy. They've been all around the college football scene. What is the name? How is the name in Florida? Is it It seems that the battle, like my co-host here, Mark said earlier in the show, the rivalry recruiting battle between Kentucky and Louisville has moved from our area of Jefferson County to Dade County. It seems that Stoops is big down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the last couple of years helped that out a lot too, because Florida State played Oklahoma there 2 years ago at Oklahoma, lost that game pretty badly. And in fact, Mark was actually pretty much embarrassed in that game. Oklahoma really ran all over Florida State's defense. And then the year after, last season, Oklahoma came to Tallahassee, and that just really kind of made people realize, okay, we really do need to pay attention to these two brothers, because obviously they're both up to something pretty good. Because Florida State, again, was in that ball game, was actually in that ball game when quarterback E.J. Manuel actually got hurt, and that kind of took the steam out of the sails, so to speak, for FSU. If you take that out of the equation, they could have maybe won that game. So I think, yeah, it's definitely one of respect as far as that family name. I know you guys are going to be seeing a lot of Florida athletes coming up there. Mark has obviously recruited Florida very well since he's been in Tallahassee, but also he's recruited Alabama really well. And that's going to be one area that's going to be really interesting to see what happens as far as when he gets to Kentucky, how much he's able to tap into some of these other SEC states, so to speak. Because, like I said, they've recruited Alabama pretty well. Chris Casher, who was a defensive end prospect out of the Mobile area, they ended up landing him. He was one of the top 25 players in the country last year. They got him. Of course, they also went to Texas and got Mario Edwards Jr., who was the number 1 overall prospect at defensive end, or number 1 overall prospect, period, but plays defensive end. He'll actually get his first start in the bowl or in the championship game today. So you're seeing a situation where he's already gone into some of these other states that have nothing to do with the ACC and was getting talent. So it'll be really interesting to see what he does with Kentucky.
That's awesome. I'm glad you mentioned he's big in Alabama. I mean, everyone knows he was a high player in Florida, but being in Alabama, it's a highly talented prospect state as well. So that's a good thing. Before I let Mark here ask you a little bit about his excitement of Louisville moving to your conference of the ACC of Florida State, I'll ask you: do you think, as simple as that, do you think Mark Stoops will be successful taking over Kentucky?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting just because I know traditionally the program's got its ups and its downs. I know it's one of those programs that everyone outside the SEC, I guess everyone inside the SEC says is difficult to take over. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think what Kentucky needed this year was a solid defense and a guy who's probably a player's coach. I'm not sure what Joker Phillips was like as a head coach for his players, but Mark is a guy who's really beloved by all those who have played for him. And so I think it's going to be a situation where where maybe his players enjoy playing for him. They kind of understand what the bigger picture is. And as Jimbo Fisher's apt to say, he always says, you build a good team with a good defense. And with what Mark did in Tallahassee, I think you're going to start seeing that here in the first couple of years. They're going to establish that big, meaty defensive line, and and then kind of go from there, get the athletic corners and safeties, and if that happens, then I think you're going to see him have a really successful tenure. But again, it's going to be tough because of course, you're going up against the Tennessees. If Tennessee if Tennessee bounces back, you're going up against Georgia, you're going up against Florida, you're going up against Bama. You guys know who everybody you play.
It's not fun,
and it's going to be a challenge. But I think it's definitely one that Mark is going to be up for. And personally, I'm definitely interested in tracking his career to see how it goes.
Yeah, that's I will say on Joker's half, he's been around the Kentucky program for about 20 years. He's a definite players guy. The team loved him. Just being around the program, I do know that the team loved him, and I am excited for Stoops. I'm very excited for Stoops. I know he's already contacted some of the recruits like a Khalid Thomas, and he's honoring these commitments. So it's so many talented guys, so I'm excited for that. Again, we have Coley Harvey. He is part of the Orlando Sentinel and the South Florida Sun Sentinel.
Yes, and Cole, I really just am curious on what your take was on losing Maryland, adding Louisville, and what the whole conference realignment is. It done shifting in the ACC?
I'd like to say that it's done, but every couple of days, every couple of hours, it seems like you hear some new rumor that somebody else is thinking about leaving. Like yesterday, Georgia Tech was the big rumor that they're trying to go to the Big Ten. And the funny thing is, I know a lot of people at Georgia Tech, and they were all sitting there talking about it yesterday, saying this is far from true. We're not even we're not even in any kind of conversation. So that's just what happens this time of year, and of course we'll see it into the off season and into the summer and spring, where you're going to have a lot of people still talking about these teams and their conferences. And Florida State, of course, is very much in those conversations as well, because the fans definitely want out. The fans are a little upset at the way that the ACC has had its perception for so long. But the funny thing is, at the end of the day, you also have to win those games against teams that aren't in your conference to prove that maybe you belong somewhere else, at least from Florida State's standpoint. And and it's one of those deals where they had been doing it. Jimbo Fisher had beaten Florida 2 years in a row, had beaten South Carolina in the Chick-fil-A Bowl a couple of years ago, and then, of course, they lose to Florida this year, the year where it really counted the most. So that's something to watch. As far as Louisville, definitely a good addition for the ACC. Obviously brings that football presence that Maryland didn't have, brings the basketball presence that very few teams in the ACC outside of Carolina, outside of the state of North Carolina, I should say, have. So that's another addition to bringing them in. And then, of course, what that school is going to do as far as a revenue standpoint. I mean, I can't see where Louisville would lose in any scenario as far as making this move from the Big East to the ACC. Definitely a good one for them. I think it's going to make the competition that much better, and it's another reason why Florida State is probably going to pool its jets right now as far as thinking about trying to get out of the conference, because now you've got a team you can compete with, a team that's going to help give you a little bit of a national branding as well. And, and a team that, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they compete when they get to those games here in the next couple of years, just what the stage is going to be like, because I think it's going to be pretty big, obviously not just in Kentucky, but then also down here.
Right. Now, I don't know if anybody really has made the argument about the ACC actually being stronger now that Maryland has been replaced with Louisville from an athletics perspective. Obviously, University of Maryland's television market is much more strong than the Louisville television market, but it sounds like Florida State's biggest issue was football reputation, and Maryland didn't really provide that, and their basketball had fallen off recently, and they probably will come back at some point, but it seems like Louisville really fit in as an addition from a basketball standpoint, but also to kind of calm down the Florida States and Clemsons of the world, who really have been trying to solidify their football identity on a national scale.
Absolutely, and that's why when there were the rumors about UConn, which those have been persisting for a while. I'd heard those for several months, and then I think probably what happened is when the football team, really didn't play very well at all up there this year. I think that's kind of what cooled the jet for for a lot of the athletic directors and presidents in the ACC. But yeah, when that was happening, Florida State was definitely against it, because they didn't want to see another basketball school come into the conference, because at the end of the day, what it's about in college sports these days is football. Football is what's making all the financial wheels turn, and especially at a school like FSU, where the basketball team can win the conference championship one year, but still all the attention in that city and on that campus is on the football program, and all the higher expectations are on the football program, and they know that, and so that's why they want to bring in a school that's going to maybe help raise their conference prestige, and and help them get into some of these national championship conversations, as long as they actually do what they're supposed to do and win games, which obviously that didn't happen twice this year.
Yeah. Now moving forward, is there any addition or change in the bylaws that will allow the football schools, or anybody really that would be interested in leaving? Is there anything that can change that will solidify this group of ACC schools, for a decade?
Well, they just back in September they just decided on the $50 million exit fee, the buyout clause, which obviously Maryland right now is saying is unfair, and they've petitioned against it, and that's why they say that they can get out of the ACC for the Big Ten. Of course, the ACC is also saying, no, we're going to sue you because you basically breached what we agreed upon. But the funny thing is, Maryland and also Florida State did not agree to that. So you look at it from the outside looking in, and you see that $50 million number, and you say, okay, that's going to be enough to lock some teams in, because you're not, it's tough to raise money, period, but to raise that much money over a short couple of years would be even more difficult. So, so on the surface, it looks like that's what's going to lock everybody in, what's going to kind of keep things even keel right now. But, Maryland being able to at least show that you can threaten to leave and actually accept a spot with another conference shows that there are some other teams out there that might consider doing the same thing. That's why it's not a foregone conclusion that Georgia Tech could be leaving at some point, that Florida State could leave at some point, that Clemson could leave at some point. But at the end of the day, if you look at it right now, it looks like maybe things have quieted down. But again, the Maryland deal kind of started on a Saturday and it took off, and by Monday, they were gone. So I don't think that we can say safely that the ACC is going to be locked in here for the next few years, and that's even something that I'm sure Louisville, administrators are concerned about as we kind of move forward. But for now, I would say that it looks like the conference should be okay after this latest round of expansion.
Yeah, and is it true that Maryland and Florida State were the only two that voted against the $50 million increase?
Yeah, they were the only two, and and I know when that happened, talking to a lot of people around Florida State, the president, for example, and the head of the board of trustees. They were very upset. In fact, the board of trustees, who is a Florida or former Florida legislator, he said there's no way this holds up. He didn't think that there was a legal basis for the new buyout fee, and of course that's what's being examined right now in the courts, is to see if that really is true. But he believes to think that it won't stand up, and that Maryland ultimately will end up, I guess, winning that suit against it. And and then of course if that happens, that paves the way for some other schools to say, you know what, we can raise $20 million, we might even be able to raise $25 million. We're going to get out if we can.
Right, so it's definitely interesting to watch, and great stuff here from Coley Harvey of the Orlando Sun-Sentinel. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts on Stoops and Louisville's move to the ACC.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, thank you very much. Great stuff. I think that $50 million buyout, how that holds up in court with Maryland. Maryland had to cut 7 sports last year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a school who just got into the Big Ten, who just cut 7 sports. Florida State's having money issues of its own. They really couldn't afford to pay a $50 million buyout in any sort of situation. So if Maryland is able to get out of this, without paying a dime or a lesser amount, then it might allow Florida State to move. But right now, it doesn't seem like anybody in the ACC is really prepared to pay that $50 million. As it stands right now. And I think Maryland's even going to struggle how to get out of that. And I think it's going to be really interesting.
It's just odd. We've mentioned Florida State. In my opinion, I think they will leave the conference in. Just depends on what year, maybe 2-3 years. And if they didn't agree to that, kind of puts me up there a little bit more that they want out.
Right.
And my guy William Warfield, he is at the Marshall County Hoot Fest. Big time, and he's got some people. He has real sources. I hate that word, but he really does it. He's been talking to coaches. He's been talking to people there, and a lot of talk of ACC of the North Carolina Duke 2015 coming to the SEC. I could see that happen as well. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
I know we're up against our break. Before we do that, there is something special going on. It's December 1st, Mark.
My sister's birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday to your sister, Natalie
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Well, it's December 1st. We're 24 and a half days away from Christmas. Now, if you want to, Mark, I know you don't have a kid, but we are doing a fundraiser now with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, which is, it's a great. We've been part of them for a few months now. You can actually have Santa call your kids. It's a personalized phone call where it says something like, "Hey, Mark, this is Santa." You do "Hey, Mark, this is Santa, and you better be nice to your sister."
I love it.
It really is great. What you can do is one way to get on 1450 to Sports Buzz. There's a little link on there. You click it and send Santa a call. On sendsantacall.com, you can send a child a personalized call from Santa. You enter the donation code BBBS at checkout, which is Big Brothers Big Sisters. Good stuff. Santa will call your kid personalized. Just make sure, Mark, you're doing everything right this holiday season.
I'll make sure I use that.
And, of course, Wildest Gunworks text line, our buzz line. Give us a shout, 384-1450. We'll come right back for the final segment of the Weekend Sports Buzz.
It's the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. My name is Mark Blankenbaker, joined by Tyler Bloyd. We just had Coley Harvey on from the Orlando Sun-Sentinel talking about Louisville's move to the ACC and Mark Stoops to Florida State. And while we were on the air with him, if we sounded distracted at all, it's because Tyler and I are both tracking a very tragic breaking news story right now where it's happened at Arrowhead Stadium at the Kansas City Chiefs facility, where a Kansas City Chief has committed suicide. And, connecting the dots appears to be, and this is unconfirmed at this point, Jovan Belcher, linebacker from Maine, 4-year player. His girlfriend was recently fatally shot, and they're investigating his girlfriend's murder. It seems that it might be the prime suspect. He's drove himself to the Chiefs practice facility and then ended his life. It's a terrible story that's happening right now. If you want to get on Twitter or any sort of Kansas City news outlet has it. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of shakes you. You would think that if you're an NFL player, you've had 4 years in the league, you have quite a bit going for you.
Everybody has their own issues outside of the
outside of
that
the field,
120 yards.
Right, exactly.
Outside of the diamond, outside of the basketball court. I mean.
Yeah, so we're definitely, thoughts with that player and family and everything like that. So, just a terrible story.
It really is. It really is. No, I don't want to just. It's kind of weird. Just let's change subject now.
Let's do that.
Let's change subject. We got a few minutes left, so let's just mention the games. Louisville and Kentucky, they do play basketball today. Louisville, first off, they have the game at 1 o'clock right here at Yum Center at 1 p.m. against Northern Illinois.
We're playing Illinois State.
The
Redbirds versus the Cardinals.
Redbirds versus Cardinals. How about that? That's
pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure they did have a decent win, maybe last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been focused on football.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Who knows? But you should win handily without Gorgui Dieng.
That's why I haven't been paying attention.
Gorgui Dieng, had his surgery. Expect him back maybe for the UK game, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Risk-pocalypse has gone a little bit down ever since the Bridgewater and Gorgui Dieng wrist injuries, and we lost to UConn and Duke on the same exact day with the news of the ACC and the Rutgers win with the BCS bid impending. So, and then today, later on, Baylor, Kentucky. What time does that game start?
12:30.
12:30.
Yep, first CBS game of the year, breaking the CBS season in. Baylor, obviously, Kentucky knocked Baylor out in the tournament last year.
Yeah, the Baylor Bears won a little Wildcat.
Both teams are totally different teams.
Yes.
Totally different teams. I expect Kentucky to win this game. Baylor against ranked teams are generally terrible. Their record is like 4-15 or 16 or something nowhere good over the last 10, 15 years against ranked teams. Kentucky should win this game at home.
They should win the game if it was last year. And you know what? With this team, they're developing. They're not. I don't feel like they're the same group of.
Ryan Harrell's just now coming back. The point guard's not situated.
Yeah, they're just not the same group of apex predators as they were last year.
Well, you can't compare any team to last year's team. Last year's team was a freak.
And so I can't go into any game with a really good opponent saying that Kentucky's going to win. I think that they should.
I don't think Baylor's really good. I just think they have some names that were
There's
supposed
some
to
names
be really good.
that were supposed to be good, but ended up not being good.
We'll find out though. That game, both local games. So I hope Kentucky wins. I expect Kentucky to win. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Myself and Kelly Patrick on the Weekend Sports for us from 10 to 12. We'll break down the Kentucky Baylor game. We'll talk about the Louisville Illinois State game. A little bit more about Stoops, more ACC. Our guest tomorrow, it's going to be fun. Earl Heyman. We're going to talk to Earl about his boxing career. He's got a fight, if I'm right, coming up in about early January. Former Orange Bowl champion. We can talk to him about that.
Yes, let's do it. Let's talk about his Orange Bowl experience and figure out, what's going on. I remember last time I was down there, it rained right during your tailgate time, and it stopped right as the game started. So all the great festivities that were going to go on, the hours leading up to the Orange Bowl, a lot of Louisville fans didn't do that because it was a driving rainstorm. I'm interested to hear Earl's perspective on playing in that game.
10:20 a.m. tomorrow. So Earl Heyman, we're going to talk to him. That'll be fun. We had him in studio a few months back for the full show. That was a entertaining show. It really was. 11 o'clock, Farrell Elliott tomorrow for your fantasy football chat. And then in the second hour, not sure the exact time, my man William Warfield, who I did mention, he is running the Marshall County Hoops Fest. He is with iHigh.com. So we're going to get all his input. He's talked to all the coaches. Full show. Great show today, Mark.
Thanks, buddy.
Go get some sleep.
Check us out on cardsandcats.com. We have YouTube loaded up.
There you go.
From this post-game record.
KentuckySports.co and 1450 to sportsbuzz.com. Thanks for listening. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.